Hey guys, this week we're going to start on our X verse. The last 2 weeks we've been doing W, so this week we get to move on to X, and we are almost through the alphabet. All right, guys. All right, here's your new verse. X, exceeding great and precious promises are given unto us. 2 Peter 1:4. X, exceeding great and precious promises are given unto us. 2 Peter 1:4. And what that means is that God just gives us promises in the Bible that are so much bigger than what we even deserve. He is such a good God. And, He's made so many promises to take care of us and to love us and to fight for us. And so that's what that verse means. And today we are going to learn about a man named Jairus and his sick daughter. All right, here is our first picture. We have Jesus and Jairus right here. All right, so let's learn about Jairus today. See if you can see that. Master, my little girl is at the point of death. Please come in here, heal her so she will not die. Jairus was one of the most important men in the city of Capernaum. He had pushed his way through the crowds and gathered around Jesus and was on his knees before the Lord with his desperate plea, begging Jesus. The people in the crowd were surprised to see Jairus in this position. Why, he was a town leader as well as a ruler in the synagogue. What need could he possibly have? But Jairus had a desperate need. His 12-year-old daughter was very sick. Because she was his only daughter, she was very dear and special to him and to his mom, her mom. And at this point, Jairus' daughter was really sick and the doctors couldn't do anything for her. And so Jairus comes desperate before Jesus, begging him to please do something. And the people are, they're kind of curious, because this is a very well-known man, a very rich man, very high up in his community, and they couldn't understand why he was on his knees in front of Jesus until they hear him say that my daughter is very, very ill and the doctors can't help her. Jesus' heart was touched and filled with compassion for Jairus. How much this man loved his little daughter. I'll go with you, said Jesus. How happy and thankful Jairus was when he heard these words. Lord, will you please hurry? Jairus pleaded. With Jesus at his side, Jairus started on his way home, but the crowd was still with him. Some wanted to ask Jesus questions, and others were curious just to see Jesus and to get close to him. Suddenly, Jesus turned around and said to the crowd, Who touched me? All denied it, but Peter said, Master, with all this crowd pushing and pressing against you, why would you ask who touched me? It was though Peter was getting on to Jesus for asking such an unreasonable question. He could have been touched and pushed by any number of people because there were so many people there, so close to Jesus. But Jesus told Peter, no, it was someone who deliberately or on purpose touched me, wanting my help. I felt goodness and healing power go out of me. Of course, Jesus knew who had touched him because he knows everything, but he probably wanted that person to speak up and tell what had just happened. And then a woman with her voice shaking and trembling spoke, I touched you, Lord. Okay, so here are the disciples back here. And here is the woman that touched Jesus. And she said, it was I. As she knelt there before Jesus, with tears of joy and thankfulness running down her cheeks, she told her story about how she had been sick for 12 long years with no hope of ever being well again. Jesus reached out his hand and gently patted her shoulder, saying, Daughter, your faith has healed you. Don't worry, go and enjoy your good health. He wanted her to know that it was her faith in him that had made her well. Not some magic that was in his garment, in his robe. that had healed her, but her faith in him. She went away rejoicing. And while Jesus was speaking with the woman he had healed, Jairus was still standing there, impatiently waiting, worried about his daughter. Jesus, please hurry, please hurry. Just then, a servant came hurrying from Jesus' home and called out to him, Master Jairus, Master Jairus, there's no use in troubling the teacher, Jesus, anymore. It's too late. Your little girl is dead. Jairus was overcome with grief and sadness. He put his head in his hands and wept and cried and cried and cried. What a sad, hopeless message it was. It was too late for Jesus to do anything to help. Nothing more could be done for his daughter. But with great sympathy, Jesus looked at the father crying and spoke words of comfort to him. Don't be afraid, Jesus said. Just trust me and believe that she'll be all right. Jairus looked at Jesus and believed what Jesus said. Even though this little girl was dead, Jairus believed that somehow Jesus would make things come out all right. Come on, Jairus, we're going to your house, said Jesus. With most of the crowd still following, they arrived at Jairus' house. And the house and the porch and the yard were filled with people. Some were friends and some were family and some were hired mourners. Because back then they would hire people to cry over someone that had died. And so these hired people were crying and wailing over Jairus' daughter who had died. As Jesus and Jairus passed them, Jesus said, Why are you making all this noise and crying? The child is not dead. She's only sleeping. But the crowd laughed and scoffed at Jesus. Yeah, right. Jesus ordered everyone to leave the house and to move from the porch and go into the yard. He would only allow the mother, the father, Peter, James, and John to come inside. Then he gently said to the mother, Take me to the room where your little girl is lying. Jairus and his wife and the disciples followed Jesus into the room. The daughter lay on her bed, and they could see that she was not breathing. It was very obvious that she was dead. Then Jesus tenderly took the little girl's hand, and in his hand, and with a voice of authority, he said, Little girl, I say to you, get up. And instantly her life returned, and she began to breathe, and warm color flooded her pale little cheeks. She sat up in bed as if she had never been sick. Jesus had raised her from the dead. This was indeed a miracle. Her stunned parents were speechless. They could not believe their eyes. Their daughter was alive, and the tears were flowing now as her mother hugged her close, and her mother and father's hearts were overwhelmed with joy. So class, today's story teaches us about who Jesus is. First of all, he's not bound by death. He was bigger than sickness, and he was bigger than death. And with Jesus, the Bible tells us that all things are possible. And so, Jairus' daughter had died, and that was impossible. She was sick when Jairus first came to Jesus, and it looked like to Jairus that Jesus wasn't hurrying up or wasn't as worried about it, wasn't as worried about getting to his daughter. But Jesus' timing was perfect. Jesus did that so that they could see how great his power was, so they could see that he truly was the Son of God. Not only could he heal her sickness, but he could bring her back to life. And that was something that only Jesus could do. And so when Jesus healed her and brought her back to life, all the glory went to God, because they knew surely there's something different about this Jesus. He must be the Son of God. He must be the promised Messiah. He must be the Savior of the world, because who else could do something like this? And then also when the woman touched his garment or his robe, She had had a bleeding sickness and illness for 12 years. For 12 years, nonstop, nobody could help her. And she was desperate. But she believed if she could just get to Jesus, if she could just touch him, that she would be healed. And when she touched his garment, she was instantly healed. But Jesus wanted her to know it wasn't touching my garment that healed you. It was your incredible faith. She had so much faith in Jesus that even though it seemed impossible, nothing had cured her. For 12 long years she had been sick. But she believed that Jesus could heal her if she could just get to him. And so Jesus wanted her to know it was your faith that healed you, your faith in me. So class, as you grow up and you get older, you'll see more and more things in life that are hard, that seem impossible. But Jesus wants you to know that nothing is impossible for him. You serve a great, big God who loves you, who is in control of everything, who no matter what the situation looks like or how bad it looks, he's bigger than any problem that you could face. Not only that, but he fights for you. He loves you. He wants good things for you. So don't let how bad a problem looks or how impossible it looks keep you from having faith that Jesus can do anything, because he is the God of all creation. I love you guys. Let me pray for you real quick. Jesus, I just thank you for these boys and girls. I just thank you that you are so faithful and so kind and so loving. I thank you that nothing is impossible for you. And even now, as we're at home more, and we might be getting a little tired of being in the house, or, things might be a little hard for us, you're in complete control of the situation, and nothing is too big for you. And God, I just pray that you would plant that seed in the hearts of these boys and girls, God, that you are a big God, that you can do anything, and nothing is impossible for you. We love you and we thank you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, guys, so this is your math page, page 119 and 120. If you'll pull that out, it's got a picture of a cake and a tomato and a sun over here. And hopefully you guys can see it okay, but I'm just going to kind of walk you through how to do this paper, okay? All right, the top part says fill in the bubble under each shape that is divided into halves. And if you remember, it's been about probably a month and a half since we talked about it. But remember, a half, if it's a half, that means it has to be cut into 2 parts. Okay, so if it's 3 parts or 4 parts or 1 part, it's not a half. It has to be cut into 2 parts. But not only does it have to be cut into 2 parts, it has to be cut into 2 equal parts. So you might remember when we talked about, like, if mom says to share your cookie with your brother, and you break it apart and you give a piece to your brother and you keep a piece. Well, if you kept the bigger piece and then you gave your brother a piece that was smaller, that's not half, because half is 2 equal pieces. That means 2 pieces, and both of those pieces are the same size. So we're trying to figure out on the top of this worksheet which of these items is split into halves. Okay, so let's take a look. The first one is a birthday cake. Okay, so I have a birthday cake. It's split down the middle. There are 2 pieces. This piece and this piece are the same size. So since they are split into 2 pieces and both of those pieces are equal or the same size, this cake would be split in half. So we would bubble underneath that because the cake is split in half. Now let's look at our tomato. Is it split into 2 pieces? It is. Now the second question we have to ask ourselves is, are those pieces equal or are they the same size? So let's look at our tomato. All right, I see that this part is much larger than this part. So do you think that that tomato is split in half? That's right, it's not, because even though it is split into 2 parts, both of those parts are not the same size. So this tomato would not be split in half. So we're not going to bubble underneath that. All right, let's take a look at the sun. Okay. Do I have two pieces? I do. Now let's look and see if both of those pieces are the same size. I do see that this sun is cut into two pieces. Now I need to ask myself, are those pieces the same size? What do you think? Okay, it looks like to me that the top part and the bottom part are both the same size, and that sun is cut into two pieces. So do you think it's a half? Do you think it's cut in half? It is. So we're going to bubble underneath here. So bubble that in. Okay, give me just a second. I'm going to run over and push the paper up so we can see the next part. Okay, thank you for your patience. It is kind of tricky getting that to line up on this camera the right way. All right, let me erase this. Okay, now if you go down to the next portion here, this is addition, and we've been working on addition a lot. And hopefully you guys are still working on your addition flashcards so that we can make sure that we get really fast at those so that we're not having to figure out every addition problem. We want you to basically memorize addition facts 0 through 10 so that we can be much faster at them. But I will continue to show you two ways that you can do that. You can add the numbers together while you're still learning to memorize them. So I'll do the first two, and then I'll let you do the rest on your own, okay? So the first problem says 5 plus 2. And remember, this is a plus sign. So when I see the plus sign, that tells me that I am adding these two numbers together. That means I have one amount, and then I got more of something. So my first number is 5. So one of the ways you can do this, now you can't do it once you move past 10. So you want to learn to memorize these. But one of the ways that you can add if you are still kind of memorizing them is you can use your fingers. So the first number was 5. Now I'm going to add 2 or get 2 more. So I would go 5 plus 2. I would add those together and count them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's one way you can do it. You can use your fingers. 5 plus 2 is 7. All right, now let's look at the next problem. I have 4 plus 4. And remember, that plus sign tells me that I'm adding. It tells me that I'm going to have an amount of something, and then I'm going to get more of something, and then I'm going to see how much I have all together. So besides having it memorized and besides using your fingers, another thing that you can do is dots. Now you don't want to do dots forever because as you learn addition, your numbers are going to get bigger and bigger, and that's a lot of dots to keep up with. But for right now, if you still need to use that, like some people are visual, so it helps them to see something written down, you can use dots. Just make sure that you're keeping them right beside the number so that you don't get mixed up. So let me show you what I mean. I have 4, so I could very neatly put 1, 2, 3, 4 dots beside that 4, plus I'm going to add 4 more. So I would put 4 dots on the bottom because I'm adding 4 more. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're basically saying 4 dots plus 4 more dots equals how many, or how many if all together. So I would count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 4 plus 4 is 8. Okay? All right, now I'm going to let you do the rest of these addition problems on your own. So after the video, if you want to come back to that, or if you want to pause it and work those problems out, that would be great. but I'm going to move down to the next section, okay? So the next section here says, write the missing number. Okay, so we have learned about which number comes before a number. We've learned about which number comes after a number, and we've learned about which number comes in between. So now's where it gets tricky because they're going to mix them up. Sometimes they're going to ask you which one came before. Sometimes they'll ask you which one came in between. Sometimes they'll ask you which one came after. One of the ways that you can figure that out is, where is the rectangle? That's the missing number. So you have to figure out, like on this first one, it's missing, the rectangle is between two numbers. So they're wanting you to tell them which number is missing between 41 and 43. So I start with 41 and I just go up one more number. 41, and then what comes right after 41? It would be 42. So 41, 42, 43. Okay, we just figured out which number came between 41 and 43. If you move over to the next problem though, you see that your rectangle is first. It's before 17 and 18. So now you have to figure out which number comes before 17 and 18. All right? So you're actually going down one number because we're trying to figure out the number that comes before. So you'll go down one number. All right, 17, and if I'm counting backwards, down one number, I would get 16. And in order to check that, I'm going to count this, 16, 17, 18. Is that correct? Is that the order that our numbers go in when we're counting to 20? It is, so I know that that is correct. So if I'm doing the number before, I'm going to go down or backwards one number. So which number comes right before I say 17? The number would be 16. All right, now on our very last problem, they gave you 78, 79, and then you have a rectangle. So they're wanting to know which number comes right after 79 in the sequence. So remember, when you're doing a sequence or you're counting, you're always going up by one number, one more number, one more number. So 78, one more is 79. And then what's one more from 79? So 78, 79, and 80. Now remember, you want to get to where you don't have to use the chart on these, so you don't want to depend on the chart. You want to get to where you can figure it out on your own. But for right now on those big numbers, if you're still one of those people that like you have to see it, like that's how Miss Watkins is. I have to see something to learn it. And that's okay. We just have to then start seeing it in our mind where we get a little faster at it. But remember, I sent you home with the hundreds chart that was laminated. It should have been in your chair back. So if you need to pull that out and use that on these problems, go right ahead. We just want to get to the point where you can start figuring them out more on your own without using that chart, okay? Because eventually you'll know what those numbers are and you'll be able to see that chart in your mind, or you'll be able to count up to that number. And the more you practice it, the faster you get at it, the easier that it becomes. So that's why we keep practicing and keep practicing and keep practicing. Okay, I'm gonna walk over and push the paper up a little bit more so that we can see the bottom. Okay, so I won't do this part for you. I'll just tell you what it's asking you to do because you can do this on your own. It just says to color 8. So you're going to count 8 umbrellas and you're going to color 8 umbrellas. Okay, I'm going to go flip the page over so that we can see what the back says. Okay, so I'll just do a few of these as an example and then you guys can do the rest. It tells you to figure out the addition problem. So figure out what the answer is. So you'll add up all of these numbers on each one of these flowers. Then after you have added them all up, you'll go up here. This is called a legend or a key, and it will tell you what color to color the flower. So if your answer is 3, you would color the flower brown. Looks orange there, but it's a brown. If the answer is 4, you would color it green. If it's 5, you'd color it purple. If it's 6, you'd color it yellow. And if it's 7, you'd color it orange. So let's just pick a flower here. Let's do 1 plus 6, I know is 7. So I'm going to write the answer. I'm going to add each one of these flowers up and get the answer to every one of them. And then after I do that, I'm going to come over here, look at the answer, and figure out what color I'm supposed to color it. So right here, my answer was 7. So I know to come over here and color this flower orange, because it says if the answer is 7, I'm going to color it orange. And let me look at something on the bottom real quick. Okay, I pushed this up a little to show you that these flowers have addition and subtraction. So remember, this little sign here, it says 7 minus 1. So remember that minus sign, when I see the minus sign, that's not a plus. So I'm not going to add these two numbers together. Now, because I saw this minus sign, I know that I'm subtracting. And remember, subtracting means taking away. So let's review real quick some ways we can subtract while we're memorizing them. Remember, we want to memorize the subtraction problems as well on our little flashcards the same way we do addition. But remember, we can use our fingers or dots to help us while we're still learning. So let's do our fingers first. That one's easy. I have 7 of something. Then it says 7 minus 1. Minus just means take away. So 7 take away 1 equals 6. 7 take away or minus 1 equals 6. Another thing you can do is you can use the dots if that helps you. You would draw 7 dots because that's what you're starting with, the number 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay? Take away or minus 1. So you could put an X over 1 because that means take away 1. Now count how many are left, because anytime you subtract, it means you're taking something away. And now I want to figure out how much is left after I've taken some away. So I said 7 dots. Minus or take away 1 of them, how many are left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 7 minus 1, or 7 take away 1, is 6. And then remember, I would go back up to the top where the color chart was when I'm finished with all of my addition and subtraction problems. And whatever the answer is, that key or that legend will tell me what color to color that flower. All right? Good job, guys. All right, guys, so you do have a handwriting sheet today. It's page 179 and 180, and you will do the front and the back. I won't show you how to do the whole paper because you really don't need to watch me write the whole thing, but I will do a little bit of review on what you need to be sure to look at when you're writing, and I'll continue to do that as we are getting better and better at writing, okay? So you'll have a first line here. It says, Mark likes to swim. Remember, on the top line, they're giving you one to trace because on this next line, they want you to try to write your sentence to look exactly like their sentence. Remember, we know it's a sentence. It's got a series of words. The first word starts with a capital letter. This is also a name, and names always start with a capital letter. Your sentence will end with the punctuation mark. In this case, we have a period, and remember, a period just means I'm telling you something. So Mark likes to swim, okay? So when I'm writing my M, remember I'm gonna go all the way up to the top here. Start on your red dot. You're gonna go straight down to the red carpet. You're gonna come across, go to the very top again, straight down to the red carpet, and then you're gonna make your peaks meet in the middle here. Start at the top and go down to the red carpet, top or down to the red carpet, and you have an M. Your A stays under that little dotted line, the little blue dotted line. It is a circle with a stick beside it, and you do not go under the red carpet. It stays right between that dotted line and the red carpet, so make sure your letters aren't going down here into the basement unless it's a letter that is supposed to, and A does not. So make sure that your A is touching that blue dotted line and the bottom of it is touching the red carpet, because that's called line awareness. So whenever I'm grading your paper, that's one of the things that I'm looking at. Now we have an R. You're going to start up at the blue dotted line. You're going to go a stick straight down to the red carpet. And then you're going to put a little hook on it. And the hook is going to touch that blue dotted line. Remember, if you accidentally go under that red carpet where a letter is not supposed to be, just use your eraser and erase it just like Miss Watkins just erased hers. All right, and then next we have a K, lowercase k. It's going to go all the way up to the top of the roof here. It's going to go down to the red carpet and stop. Pick up your pencil again and go to this little dotted line. And you'll go in and kick out. Mark. Put a space, because we always want there to be a space between our words so it doesn't look like one long word. This is a different word. Mark likes. So we're going to start at the top of the red dot, and it's just a line straight down, stop at the red carpet. All right, then our next letter is going to be a lowercase I. You're going to go to the dotted blue line, straight down to the red carpet, and your dot will go right above the dotted blue line. Here's our lowercase k again. We're going to go up to the roof, all the way down to the red carpet. Then we're going to take our pencil and go to the dotted blue line, kick in, kick out, making sure it does not go under the red carpet. The next letter is E. Remember, E stays under the dotted blue line and it kind of looks like a C. We're going to go around, stop at the red carpet, and close the gate. And then S, I know, is tricky. S just takes a lot of practice. S is going to go curve up to the dotted line, down, over, hits the red carpet, and goes back and around. Okay? Mark likes, and so we need another space here, because now we're going to write the next word to. Start at that little red dot, go down to the red carpet, and the bow tie goes across the blue dotted line. And then O just goes under that little dotted line, down to the red carpet, but not under the red carpet. Okay? Mark likes to swim. A lowercase s starts on that little red dot. It's going to stay under the blue dotted line. You go down, around, back, over, and hit the red carpet and loop it back. S's are hard, but you'll get better at them the more you practice, okay? All right, and here is our lowercase w. We're going to start at the blue dotted line, down to the red carpet, back to the blue dotted line, down to the red carpet, back to the blue dotted line. Lowercase I, it's going to go straight down to the red carpet. Then I'm going to put my dot up here above the dotted blue line. Okay, and then my last letter is an M. It's going to be a stick. I will have two humps, and they will stay under the blue dotted line, but not under the red carpet. Down, down, and don't forget your period, okay? So when you write your sentence down here, you want your sentence to look just like the one on top as much as you can make it. You want it to be straight up and down. You want it to have spaces between each word. You want to make sure that it's not going way up on the line or way under the red carpet where it's not supposed to, but that your letters are formed and touching the same spot on the lines that your example is touching. Remember, each word here starts, the beginning letter of the word starts on the next red dot. That'll help with your spacing. So I have a red dot here. I know that's where my M is going to go for Mark. Down, down. M-A-R-K. A-R-K. And I know my lines are a little bit hard to see here. Now, I'm going to leave a space, and I'm going to come to the next red dot. The next red dot is where the next word will start. So my next word is likes. So the first letter, L, in the word likes will start on that red dot. L, I, K, E, S. Okay? Now mine got a little bit close to the next red dot, so you may have to erase it and make it a little bit skinnier. But there is going to be a space here. Make sure there's a space between each one of your words. All right, so the next word, to, is going to start on the next red dot. I stick down to the red carpet, and then the bow tie goes across the red dotted line. And look, I'm looking at this, and I see it's way too close together. There's not enough space, so I'm going to erase. And sometimes you'll have to do that. Sometimes if your spacing is off and your words are running together, you'll have to erase and try it again. So I'm going to erase and try that again. All right, here's my E. I'm going to write it a little bit smaller so I can fit it. And my S. Now that's better. Now I have some space. Likes, to. All right, so I've got Mark likes to. Now, I have one more word, the word swim, and I have one more red dot. So my S will start on this red dot. S. Now my W, and it will stay under the blue dotted line. Now I went too high, so you would take your eraser and you would erase it. If it goes up and it goes over the line where it's supposed to, like mine went over the blue dotted line, I have to erase it. My I is going to go under the blue dotted line, and then it's going to stop at the red carpet, and then my dot will go over the blue dotted line. Should be able to see your blue dotted line on your paper. All right, and then my last letter is M. And don't forget your period. Okay? So you'll do the same thing on this line, trace it, and then write it. Then you'll flip your paper over on the back, you'll do the same thing. You'll trace it and you'll write it. So just remember, when you're doing your papers, you want to try to make sure that your letters are straight up and down. You want to make sure that your words are spaced out. Make sure that you're forming the letter the right way. So if you forget how to form a letter, and I'm not here to ask how to do it, flip in your B book. That alphabet chart is still in your B book, and it will show you how to make the letter, okay? And then just make sure that your letters are the correct size. All right, guys, you're doing great. I miss you so much. I love you, and I hope to talk to you soon. Bye.